Great to have you, Silvio. So this is a funny story. This character here, if you look at his guns, they're very upsetting. I think you'll all agree. And it's just revealed to me he doesn't even train arms, which is just mind-blowing. It just goes to show you the power of genetics. But back in the 1990s, Silvio was for a brief time a Biosynergy ambassador before he left me for the dark side. So it's a real pleasure to, nearly 30 years on, to have him join us today and share what I think everybody will agree is an amazing story of how a young man, through dedication, training to martial arts, has basically created a whole life for himself and also inspired a whole new generation of people as well. So Silvio, just, tell us a bit more about how you got into Taekwondo initially and how, I guess, that has completely, shaped your life.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for such a nice intro. And it's been ever so nice to reconnect with you after all those 30 odd years. I remember I was at university at the time competing, looking to partner up with someone to support my travels because I was competing quite extensively in my early years. But my initial inspiration was clearly Bruce Lee, who appeared in phenomenal shape in 1970s. And the speed and agility and power that he displayed was very inspirational to a young child. It was really mind-blowing. So naturally, my first inspiration was Bruce Lee. So I really wanted to take up martial arts. But my weight training journey has started side by side with my martial arts. And ever since then, I've been doing both because I think they go very much hand in hand, because strength is clearly a very important attribute to most sports nowadays. So it started off initially being inspired by Bruce Lee, but back in those days, I didn't realize all the multifaceted sides of martial arts that he had to offer. That's why 35 years later, I'm still doing it.
So what was at what age did you kind of start training, and did you always think that this was going to be something that you would do for life, or did you see it as, or were you just taking it one step at a time?
To be honest with you, I mean, my brother and I got picked up on the street. Well, my brother got beaten up, and I was next to him when this happened. My shirt was covered in blood from the incident itself. And naturally, when we came back from the holiday to UK, we both decided together we're going to take up martial arts and basically put it into our hands. If this would happen again, we can take care of ourselves. But I remember my very first Taekwondo class. I was 12 years old in New Malden Leisure Centre, West London. So southwest London. After the first class, I completely fell in love with it. My goal was to get to a black belt. And I remember leaving the class saying to myself and my brother, I want to be a black belt. I absolutely love it. Naturally, having been inspired by martial arts people like Jean-Claude Van Damme and Bruce Lee, I kind of had very limited idea what martial arts had to offer. But after my first class, I was adamant I want to carry on.
You're absolutely smitten. So was it, and did you stay with the same sensei throughout your career, or did you move, and what caused that to happen?
Well, in all fairness, my first teacher, when I reached a certain level, he actually said to me, I would like to transfer you to my instructor, my teacher, because if you stay with me, I'm going to hold you back because you will not be able to progress as fast as you would if you were with him. So he actually transferred me to a different teacher. But all of my teachers, I have to say, have been very open-minded. Even my second teacher that I had, when I was training for world championships here, he made sure I mixed with other disciplines of martial arts. So I wasn't just practicing Taekwondo, I was doing Kyokushinkai, kickboxing, Wing Chun. And we're talking, this is back in 80s, early 90s, when if you were to cross-train in other systems, you would get frowned upon. Why are you mixing with other systems? We offer the complete truth and the complete discipline of combat. Nowadays, as we call MMA, MMA is very, very, very popular now. But back in those days, if you trained in different systems, you were frowned upon. Like, why are you mixing and mingling with other systems? Because we've got everything to offer you. But my teacher was very open-minded, and he allowed me, not just allowed me, but he encouraged me to go to other schools and expand my knowledge in other fields.
So do you think that kind of the mindset that they had about encouraging you to try new things, is that something that you've carried through your career and the way that you're now teaching as well?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, I realized that the length and depth that I've explored in different systems and martial arts and black belts I've acquired in different disciplines, because each and every discipline has something unique to offer to practitioners. And I think no martial arts system is complete. None of them are. And I've practiced quite a few open hand combats. So I think it's absolutely essential and crucial to mix and try different systems, because end of the day, we spoke about genetics. We're genetically built differently. You can't expect a 65-year-old to perform taekwondo kicks that a 25-year-old does. So there are systems of martial arts like Hapkido, Wing Chun, which require less of a degree of flexibility and mobility to acquire those skills. So absolutely, I still encourage nowadays people to try different systems, because one system may not be the right system for them.
So a lot of people listening and potentially watching may recognise you from the films that you've been in, and you've been in quite a string of films with some very well-known actors. How did that come about, and what was that something that you planned, or was it something that was an accident almost?
I think back of my mind and within my heart, I had this tingling sensation. I really wanted to expand myself as far as I possibly can. But this was around the time that you and I met over 30 odd years ago. And I was working for university once I graduated. I was working for commercial development at university. And one of my colleagues was aware that I practiced martial arts. I was a black belt. I was competing extensively. And he saw an advert somewhere in the papers. They're looking for stuntmen to go to Thailand for some film production. So he phoned me up out of the blue, said, I saw this advert. You're interested? I phoned up the agency. 3 weeks later, I was off to Thailand. I gave up my job. I gave up everything. Literally like that. I gave everything up, and I thought, this is my calling. I have to give everything up. I gave up a perfectly good job I had in order to pursue a different career. And at times it was very, very difficult. But when I came back from the first job, I deliberately did not want to go back to chasing career or getting myself jobs where I'm committed to something, because I wanted to expand my career in the film industry. It felt so right. But obviously I had to adapt myself to make my moves look good on the screen, because martial arts in the dojo is very different to the way it's done on screen. So I had to adapt myself in the months and years to come.
So what was that first gig that kind of got you started then?
I did quite a few TV commercials beforehand, and funny enough, I worked with Sacha Baron Cohen, Ali G. I did a very small gig with him just before he became famous as Ali G. I've done a few TV commercials, but my very first film was Black Mask 2. Black Mask 2 was sequel to Jet Li film. Jet Li was in the first one. The second one had Andy On and Scott Adkins, who's a very famous British actor now. He's been in 1,000 films. And that's how we became friends. This was 2001
Wow.
in Thailand. And that was my first film. And I fell in love with the whole thing. I fell in love with the industry, and this ignited a spark inside me with a great burning desire to expand myself. 20 odd years later, I've done 37 productions, TV shows, TV commercials, and I'm still pushing it. Last year I was very fortunate. I shot 5 films. This year's been a bit quiet. I've only done 1 production so far, but nevertheless, I'm still chasing my dreams.
But I mean, to me, this is listening to you back. I mean, you probably don't even appreciate it but you were saying at the top of it, it was Bruce Lee and Jean-Claude that inspired you, and you're almost kind of following a path that they kind of blazed for you, I guess. It's almost like you're walking in their footsteps. I mean, do you realize that? Does it feel like that to you, or is it still, or do you not?
Absolutely. In so many ways, having been inspired by people like Sylvester Stallone and Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal. Absolutely. I've had the privilege to meet most of these guys and work with them. And for me, it has been the biggest pleasure and achievements of my career to having worked with some of these legends that I've been inspired by and looked up to. And now I feel very lucky having stood on their shoulders so I can see further afield.
So on that, obviously, when you're not filming and kicking ass on camera, as it were, you've got your own dojo now, you're teaching. Tell me, do you feel that there's that yin and yang, for want of a better expression, to that, you're giving back and helping create the next generation of people, whilst also pursuing a career on the other side, which is obviously giving you so much enrichment as well?
I feel very privileged and lucky that I've got passions in two industries, or two different things, which are quite nicely related together, about films and martial arts. Because although I've been very lucky in the film industry, and I've worked with lots of people, it's not a constant job. It's not 9 to 5 thing. You work 365 days a year. So when you're not on a film set, you can drive yourself nuts. So I'm very lucky in that sense, because I could divert my energy and passion into things that I normally don't get a chance when I'm filming, like Martial Arts Academy. Last year alone, I spent 4 months out of the country. But when I came back, this year was quiet. When I came back, I had opportunity to revert my attention and energy back to my academy and make the school grow. But giving back, as you said, I think any job, any industry, that's what life is all about, really. We go through life trying to search who we are, but I think we truly find ourselves when we lose ourselves in the service of others. And I realized it through teaching. And when my first child was born, my son, who's 9 years old now, this for the first time I realized it's the act of giving that you really realize and find yourself who you are as a person.
So have your kids gone down the same route as you in terms of the martial art?
Oh, I've got one boy. He's 9 years old. He's a US champion. He's a British champion. He's won 12 gold medals just in the last 14 months. He only started competing a year and a half ago. So I'm ever so pleased. I'm ever so happy. I never pressured him to do it, but he comes through 4 or 5 classes a week. He helps out. He got his black belt last December. It's one of those things. As a father, I was always hoping that he would do it, but I would not want to pressure him, because if you pressure anyone too much, there will come a point where they're going to give up and quit.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think he'll be going to the Olympics sometime soon?
I hope so. Although I have to be honest with you, I am not too keen on martial arts taking place in Olympics, because Olympics have to dilute the true essence of what martial arts are. And Olympic Taekwondo doesn't really look like a martial art anymore. I mean, they're spectacular athletes. I don't criticize any of them. They're absolutely got incredible skills, but they've introduced too many rules. You can't punch to the face. You can't do this. You can't do that. And you take the reality of combat away from the sport itself. The art and the sport are two different areas. And as I mentioned earlier on, I only started competing back with my school 2 years ago, because when you compete, you introduce lots of rules in order to keep it safe. But in the process, you dilute the true essence of what the art is. And judo is nothing like what it used to be. Olympics completely stripped away all the bits which were not appropriate for Olympics in order for it to fit the mold. So I'm not too keen on martial arts being Olympics, unfortunately.
Okay, interesting. So maybe UFC.
UFC, maybe. I think it's far more realistic and brutal.
Yeah. So obviously, going back to what you've learned, and all the people that you've met in your career, what kind of things do you feel have kept you motivated and kept you inspired, and that you're now trying to pass on to your students and obviously to your children as well?
I think with motivation, it's often overly rated. Motivation, we get motivated very frequently, but the motivation wanes out. So we lose the motivation. I think it's the discipline. The discipline keeps you going long term, especially when it comes to 5, 6, 20, 30 years. And I've learned most of it through weight training and martial arts. I go gym every single day. I have done for the last 30 years, Monday to Friday. I'm there every day. I used to go twice a day for 15 years. You don't go gym because you really want to. You're full of energy, you're inspired. You go because of the discipline. Some days you feel tired, you feel exhausted, you feel hungry, you're sore, you're aching everywhere, but you still go. So the habits take over the motivation. So it's a habitual thing. So I think if it wasn't for martial arts and weight training, I don't think I would have gone as far, because I've conditioned myself to get into these routines and not looking for instant gratitude, but to think, if I'm doing this for long term, these are the results I'm going to get. This is what I'm going to reap from it. So I've learned an awful lot from martial arts as well as weight training, which has given me immense discipline, which I've actually passed on to my son. Luckily, he has no chocolate, no sugar on Thursdays and Fridays. I didn't force him to do that, but kids learn from us setting examples to them as opposed to us telling them what to do.
100%.
So no, I would say weight training and fitness have served a phenomenal platform for me to excel in all fields, filming as well as everything else. Because every day you fail, but you go back to the gym next day, then you fail again, you go back again. Acting is the same thing. You will do 50, 60 auditions before you get one big role. But the thing is, don't give up, don't quit, pick yourself up and keep moving forward. So it teaches you really how to be thick-skinned. There have been times, like even this year, I did one production. You can start getting depressed and thinking, maybe there's something wrong with me. You start asking yourself questions. Why am I not getting roles? Maybe you need to keep going forward. It's not you. Just need to keep trying, keep knocking on those doors. And it teaches you to be very, very persistent and consistent.
I agree. I think the consistency, like you, I'm only go 4 times a week, so don't dislike me too much. But the point is, I think when I don't go,
there you go.
That's the days I enjoy the least, because I almost, sometimes when you go on holiday, sometimes the first thing that we do is we find out, is there a gym nearby, or is there a gym on site? Because the thought of not having to do that for a prolonged period of time, I think it's as much the physical, it's the mental aspect of it as well. Like you said, knowing you've got a discipline. It's not even about looking good or whatever. It's just literally, it's about creating that mindset that if you keep going, even if it's not a great day, it's still better than not going at all.
Of course, but Daniel, I mean, just the sheer fact that you've got your routines, you go gym every single day, tells me a lot about you. It tells me you're organized. It tells me that you're disciplined, you're persistent, you're consistent, not just in one area, but probably in all areas of your life. And I think weight training and dieting is probably one of the hardest things anyone can do. And that's why obesity has become such a big problem worldwide, because we find it very difficult to resist consuming these products and things which are highly addictive and very bad for us.
So when you're talking about your martial arts academy, what's your kind of aspiration for that, and what's the kind of the mindset that you're trying to instill upon your students, and what do you hope for them?
I think nowadays there isn't enough discipline at home or even in schools. And especially with mobile phones, too much screen time, kids have got very, very short attention span. So we tend to emphasize on being very strict, very disciplined, and focused. If kids arrive to the class late, we hold them accountable. You have to come to the front, apologize, explain why you're late. If you're late more than 3 times a month, you have to write a little essay. Why are you keep running late? Because we are creatures of habits. And I said, if you keep coming late to my classes, you're going to make it a habit. This is not going to go away. By the time you get to 20, 30, 40, you're going to have issues long term. So we tend to teach them life skills to make them stronger emotionally. Because let's face it, a 4 or 5-year-old kid, they won't be able to defend themselves. Even if they have the greatest skills in martial arts, they can't defend themselves. So we try to instill very strong mindset into their heads that failure is inevitable. Success is a choice, but failure is inevitable. So pick yourself up when you fail. Don't give up. Don't quit. Pick yourself up and keep moving forward. So we're trying to instill a very strong mindset in their heads. And that's why parents love our classes. That's why they keep bringing kids. They say, oh, he's not doing well in school. He's not well behaved. And I love that aspect. I love the feedback I get from parents afterwards. Wow, my kid is trying so much harder. They're a lot more confident. They've opened up. And I remember reading a book as a kid. Confidence is a child's first weapon, because once you become confident, opens up so many doors for you.
I couldn't agree more, 100%. So in terms of the future, what does that hold for you, Silvia? I mean, are you looking to do more films, expand your academy, get back into competition, all of the above?
I'm too old to compete. I don't compete anymore, but my students are competing. I'll take my students to competitions, at least 4 or 5 every year. Things are so good at the moment, Daniel. I'm not planning to do too many things in future. If things could remain consistent as they are, I would love it, but change is inevitable. I'm always looking to grow. We continue doing marketing for our schools. We've got 11 instructors and assistants within our academy. So I'm looking for them to go and open up their own schools and academies. I would like to spend more time training my son so he can make a big mark in international tournaments like the US Open. He's going to Las Vegas in October to compete in another US Open. So this is time to give back. This is time to give back to my students and my son and see how much they can flourish and prosper.
Fantastic. So in terms of like kind of wrapping up a little bit, what would be your kind of key takeaways for somebody listening about, you know, what they need to do or what they could do to set themselves up for success? You know, what's your make it happen mindset? I mean, I think we've covered it a bit, but it'd just be great if you could just encapsulate it for us.
I think starting point for all success stories is passion. You've got to have passion and desire. If your parents are having to drag you to do your tennis or football or soccer, it's not going to be a success story because it's not really coming from the heart. So make sure you find within your heart what is it you want, because you will stumble across problems, obstacles, challenges, failures, and it's that passion that's going to drive you forth because you believe in yourself. It doesn't matter what my parents think or X, Y, and Z. You have to believe in yourself, and that passion and desire will drive you forth to get to your destination. And you will fail. You will fail many times. You're going to fail more times than succeed. But you will learn from those failures far more than successes. And I said this recently in one of the martial arts classes I was holding. I said to my students, I am waiting for the day and I'm looking forward for my son to fail in the tournament. And my wife looked at me like, well, why are you saying that? And I said, well, he's been winning so far, but you don't win from you don't learn from victories. You learn from your losses and how you recover from those losses. That's very, very important. And I think the younger you are when you fail, the more you're going to learn from those failures, to pick yourself up and to keep moving forward. And never give up, because when you keep knocking on those doors, one of those doors will be your door that's going to open up with lots of opportunities and possibilities for you to grow and expand.
Brilliant. Look, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Let's not leave it 30 years next time.
No, absolutely not, Daniel. It's been a tremendous pleasure for me too.
Great. And listen, have a great evening. And
thank you.
Look, everybody listening, make sure you check out Silvio and, you know, see what he's been up to and how he's continuing to move forward with his career and inspiring others.
Thank you very much.